The Montreal Protocol community has worked a lot on building a whole offer of training programs for the servicing sector throughout all its history with CFC phase out and now with the HCFC phase out. Nevertheless, today there's quite a new challenge in new type of alternatives that are proposed on the market, and the developing countries are asking us how we can help further in their training programs to strengthen it and to adapt it to these new needs. So in particular with the new families of refrigerants, you don't train on using, for example, hydrocarbons as you would train on other refrigerants. So this was the whole idea of the meeting that was held here in Paris, organized by UNEP, to gather all the stakeholders to think how we can actually join forces to help improve these training services. So looking at what we can do better, what is still needs to be developed further. So, for example, I'm representing another implementing agency of the Montreal Protocol, the United Nations Development Program. So we work closely, of course, with other agencies and the other Montreal Protocol institutions to support the countries in this implementation. So, of course, we are interested in these joint efforts to give better services to the developing countries. I would say that in particular, I work quite a lot in Africa, and there is a boom of the servicing sector there. I mean, there's a boom in general, of new air conditioning, more and more air conditionings, and so the need to have more technicians. So there is a strong demand for additional training, new types of training, and that it covers really all the new types of refrigerants that are on the market. So we have to respond to this, both to the obligations of the Montreal Protocol, what the countries have committed to and what they are implementing, but also to this new need of the countries. To ensure sound management of refrigerants, you basically have to ensure that you're containing the refrigerants properly, and that you are also recovering them and also reclaiming them in case, of course, you have equipment to do that. Because with good systems, good maintenance and good recovery, of course, you reduce the need for refrigerants. In general, we try to promote, moving towards an economy that is using its resources in a more sustainable way, and so it's quite important that we manage to put this in place. And in many countries, it's quite difficult, and throughout the HCFC phase-out period, we are advising the countries on the strategy they can put in place, the centers of excellence that they can build up or strengthen in their countries to actually build the capacity of the service, the technicians in the refrigeration servicing sector, and also how they can use equipment so that they use their refrigerants in a appropriate manner. So it's of course there is a question of funding, as often, but it's not only this. There's also a question of providing the right training programs, adapted to the new needs in this sector. And for us, for UNDP, it's very important, of course, to link it to larger development issues. I mentioned that in Africa you have a change of the economy and also growing middle class, and you have a stronger demand for the refrigeration services, air conditioning services. So if you want to respond to these needs, in a sustainable way, if you want to promote the new Sustainable Development Goals that have been adopted by all the UN members. Yeah, one of the actually obstacles to a sound management of refrigerants, and it's particularly true in Africa, is the quality of the refrigerants that is used. For example, there's a lot of counterfeit, and also for the new refrigerants, it's difficult, for example, to find high-grade hydrocarbons in Africa, whereas there's actually quite a high demand actually now. So one of the things that at UNDP we're trying to do to respond to this is actually to support one company in Nigeria that is set up an innovative system that's using the hydrocarbon that exists already in the country. So as you know, there's sources of hydrocarbons in Nigeria, and producing high-grade refrigerants from this that we hope will be able to be used in countries, well, in Nigeria first, and maybe to neighboring countries. Either from this production, also maybe there will be opportunities for replication of this in other countries. So we're trying to find solutions to this question of supply of reliable refrigerant.